Hello and welcome to the Life Capoeira. Today we're welcoming from Kenya Ahmed, who's been training capoeira for about a year. So Ahmed, welcome to the Life Capoeira. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure for you to have me.
So let's start then. You've been with capoeira a year. What was it that got you started with capoeira? How did you discover it and start getting involved?
Actually, it's a fascinating story. I've always known capoeira since I was a kid, but for me it was a foreign martial arts. So I just knew I would never have a chance to do it. So it was just in the back of my head. I I actually forgot about it until recently when I moved cities, got married, and I got diagnosed with bipolar. So I was out looking for a martial art that I could train just to give me a break from all that. So yeah, luckily I just went online and something just told me, why don't you search for capoeira in Kenya? And I found it on Facebook, just gave it a call, and 1 year down the line, here I am.
Brilliant. And what was it that you enjoyed that kept you coming back? So for years, a good solid 12 months of commitment. What is it most enjoying?
So the interesting thing about capoeira is actually it reminds me of home. Uh, the music, the culture is actually so similar from where I come from. Mm. I come from the Swahili coast in Kenya, and I would say the music really it's actually the same as capoeira, which is fascinating. So the togetherness in the roda and the music, it just reminds me of home. So yeah, that really kept pushing me back. And other than that, um, I find capoeira a bit like it's a bit mystical, if that makes sense. And so it makes me realize who I am as a person. So it's like a self-actualization tool that I use. So yeah, every day when I get into class, there's always something that it teaches me so about myself. So it keeps uh, pulling me back. Yeah.
Brilliant. It's really interesting what you say there, obviously, with capoeira's roots in Africa. It's a Brazilian art. I know some people describe capoeira as being African. To me, it's Brazilian. I think part of the strongest reason for that is obviously we find it in Brazil, and where you found the rest of the slaves that sort of spread out. You can see many similarities with some of the arts that evolved and developed in the Bahamas and in North America and so on. But obviously, a lot of those roots from all of those things stretch back to Africa, and it's always interesting when you see some of those parallels directly. And that's really interesting. That obviously all the way from the east coast of Africa all the way to Brazil, we've still got that connection, which is nice to hear. The capoeira has helped with your bipolar.
Yeah, it did. So for me, how my bipolar comes to be, it's more of I get really bad mood swings. One day I'm really happy, another time I'm so depressed. I can't even get to class. But I would say my master, he he whenever I go to class and I tell him about all this, he he would tell me, for example, whenever you come into class, try and make it become like a different world for you. So, first thing he would say is use it as an expression, because another reason why I got bipolar is because I was not emotionally aware. So letting out my emotions really helped with my bipolar. So for me, it's like a safe space. I can let out what I'm feeling, and that really helps. Another thing is because the community is so accepting, it just feels so good. It feels really nice.
Excellent. I'm glad they've been so welcoming over there. And that's good. I think that crops up a lot in some of these episodes, that sort of sense of community with
Yeah,
capoeira, one of the things that drew me to it.
yeah.
The capoeira scene like in Kenya?
So I would say It's still growing. The group is about 10 years old, but I would still say it's growing because we have we actually have kids who are training there, and some of them have grown up, some of them have become instructors. But it's the only group in Kenya. It's still a baby, but we're growing really fast.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Mm. So I think that's the thing with capoeira spreading out. I think in the UK it's been around for in the region of 50 years. I think it was 1971 that capoeira first came to the UK, if I recall. And obviously each country will have had capoeira arrive at a different time. Mm. Are there many capoeira groups as well besides your own?
There was, but the only consistent one I would say is just our group Capoeira Angola Center Kibera. Other groups have been there, but on and off. Yeah.
And have you had a chance to go out and travel to meet them, or are you just sort of aware that they're out there in Kenya? But I don't know how spread out the groups are.
So the moment I started capoeira, all of these groups they were not existing. So it's I would say it's the only capoeira scene. Like it's the only group that's available right now.
Cool. And if we've got some listeners in Kenya who disagree with that, by all means, get in touch. I'm very happy to give you
Yeah.
a shout as well. I think because sometimes you never know. It'd be great if you do want to get in touch, and we can happily put you back in touch with Ahmed. So if there are any other Kenyan capoeiristas out there who are listening to this, then thelifecapoeira@gmail.com. We can get you guys in touch.
Yeah.
Give a shout out to your group then. So who is your mestre that's been so helpful for you?
So our mestre is called Contra Mestre Salim Rollins. He's a student of Mastre Hal Grandi. And our group is called Capoeira Angola Center Kibera. I would also like to shout out our really good instructors, which is Babu and John. Yeah.
What is it that you especially like about um, those two instructors? How have they touched you with their capoeira?
So the beautiful thing about them is they really love to teach. They really love kids, and they would take their time to show you, like if you have any questions, you have a problem with some moves, with music, mm, with the capoeira philosophy, any questions, they really put their time into teaching.
That's good. That's what you want. And so, what are you hoping to achieve with your capoeira? Have you got any specific goals, or are you just going to sort of travel the capoeira path and see where it takes you?
So my hope is that um, I self actualize more. I've seen more of myself through capoeira. It has taught me a lot about myself. I'm definitely not who I was 1 year ago. I would say I've aged about 10 years just because of capoeira. Mm, yeah, even I think even my bipolar is gone just because of it. And for me, I hope that one day I become just like my master, Salim Rollins. Yeah.
A lofty goal. So, what's the next step on the path to becoming a maestro? Are you particularly focused on anything, or are you just trying to do a little bit of the moves, a little bit of the music, a little bit of learning the history, some of the philosophy?
So I've been learning a lot on the philosophy side. Uh, I've also been focusing on the moves, trying to be exactly like him. Uh, and yeah, the mysticism as well. So the moves, the mysticism, and the philosophy, those are my main focus right now. Yeah.
Have you read Mestre Accordion's book? I think that might, if you haven't, I forget the title now. I think it might just be called Capoeira, the Brazilian art form, something like that. Mestre Accordion. If you haven't read that, I think that would be a good book to help you on your journey there, because he certainly touches on all of those aspects, including the mystical. So we're a year into Capoeira, and you're obviously getting a lot from it, which is fantastic to hear. The last question I like to leave with my guests is, what is capoeira?
So capoeira to me. is actually, it has become my life. Um, right now, anything I do, I see capoeira in it. If I ride my bike to work, I feel like I'm actually practicing capoeira. When I'm working on my computer, whenever I have, those small little breaks, I'm searching something on capoeira. Mm, yeah, capoeira is my life. It has become my life. It's been 1 year, but it has filled everything that I do.
I know what you mean about sort of finding little minutes to practice. Certainly on my commute to work, I sometimes find myself tapping out on the
Yeah,
rhythms on my steering wheel and things.
yeah,
Have those moments when you can.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the Life Capoeira. See you a year into your journey. It'd be fantastic to have you back maybe in a few years and see how you've progressed and where your capoeira is at that point. Are there any closing comments or thoughts that you'd like to say for our listeners?
I would say that if you've been touched by capoeira, I don't think it will ever leave you. It's a lifelong journey. Once you start, there's no looking back.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. It does become a part of you. So a little bit about me. I in lockdown here in the UK, the from being a science teacher by day and getting 10,000 steps a day very easily to being more sedentary because of lockdown. I actually got a sort of inflamed tendon in my leg, which has actually taken quite a few years to resolve. So I haven't had the time, not necessarily the time, sorry, the ability to train a lot of the movements. I'm just getting back into those now. But one of the things I certainly like about capoeira is it's always there and there's so much to it. And even though physically my game has gone downhill a bit because I haven't been able to practice, but I'll get back into that. There's been that opportunity to read more and to practice the music and the songs. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about capoeira is that there is so much and that it can have that effect of touching you and becoming a part of who you are. Well, thank you very much, Ahmed, for joining us here on the Life Capoeira. And I look forward to welcoming you back in a few years when we can see how you've progressed and how your thoughts and philosophies have progressed as well. Um, and listeners, thank you very much for listening to another episode. If you want to get in touch, you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram, all of the Life Capoeira. And as mentioned before, the Life Capoeira at gmail.com. If you want to drop an email, I'm very welcoming of anyone that would like to nominate themselves or their teachers or people they know that would like to come on. We've got a few guests lined up, and any feedback is also welcome as well. So thank you very much, and until next time, ciao.